Just thought our defense was, once again, really, really good. We had a goal coming into the game to try to hold number 4, Saeed Pritchett, to 13 or less. He ended up getting 15. The guys were a little bit tired of hearing it all week since our last game, but we had a siren go off in all of our preparations anytime Saeed Pritchett in the scout team touched the ball, just to make sure that we did not allow a guy that came in here as one of the nation's leading scorers to get clean looks. And I thought, his 7 turnovers was really, really vital for us defensively. And, we did not shoot the ball well at all. We weren't pretty offensively tonight. But that's what you have to do on nights that you can't score. Is you got to up your defensive intensity. And again, Montana really, really struggled from 3-point area with our defense, and I thought we did a great job closing out the shooters and not giving them any clean looks. And once again, we want to clean up our turnovers a little bit better. We're about 4 or 5 over where I'd like to be. And then obviously we got a defensive rebound. I think the biggest thing with our defensive rebounding is just understanding that when you hold teams to such low field goal percentage, you've got to really crash. There's more opportunities for the other team to get offensive putbacks.
Yeah, Eric, Andrew had his first double-double career high. I think 9 rebounds was his previous side. So what do you think of his game all around?
Yeah, I think that he's doing a phenomenal job. When he plays that center spot, he's just so quick off the floor. I thought his offensive rebounds were phenomenal. I mean, he had one off a missed free throw that was awesome. He's a guy that has the ability on our team to range rebound.
Well, howdy. It's our Monday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, Sports Talk Radio. It's our recap edition as we let you hear audio from head men's basketball coach Eric Mossman following their big Saturday home victory over the Montana Grizz, 64-46 as Arkansas moves 3-0 on the year. I want to go over to my producer, Demetrius Johnson, as the depth chart has come out also too, and it is listed KJ Jefferson or John Stephen Jones, get this one, or Nick Starkel, which I think that last one's just in there just for depth purposes. I think it's going to be KJ. I think it's going to be KJ on Saturday in a hostile environment. And what better way, you would like that to have a young man of his capability and future potential going forward to just see how he'll handle his initial start, true freshman, playing against the best team in all of college football on their home playing field. I'm really excited to see how this young man will respond.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I think he's going to rise to the occasion. I'm saying he's going to come out with a win against the number 1 team in the nation, but I think KJ is definitely going to go out there and show us spurts of why he should be going into next year as that starting quarterback and kind of going through spring as the leader of the University of Arkansas.
And I think, it's not about winning. Arkansas comes in, I think, 46-point underdogs. It's not even really about that. It's about competing. It's about being able to go out and play the best possible football game that you can play. And I agree with Coach Lunny. I mean, not sure what that's going to look like, but I don't think Arkansas will get beat by 46 points on Saturday. I saw a few things that maybe they can take advantage of, in particular KJ being a running quarterback, as the Ole Miss quarterback had quite the Saturday night performance versus this LSU offense. Now, could it have been a letdown coming off the big emotional game following Alabama? Probably, but I don't think it was a lot had to do with that. I think it was just a great game plan. And, you have to credit Ole Miss. They played really, really a hard football game. Just unfortunate when you're playing the best team and there's a talent gap. I mean, that's going to be the outcome that we saw on Saturday night. But, you continue to hear more about the coaches search. You hear Lane Kiffin. We've heard Mike Leach. I, for one, think the best man for the job is Sam Pittman. I will continue to say that. If I need to be the agent or the start up the club to get Sam hired, I would do that, because I think this is a guy that we're looking for, a leader of men and someone that can galvanize a football team. I think Sam Pittman has all those intangibles. I was listening to Mason Jones on Saturday, and he made a statement in his availability, and we'll let you guys hear that in tomorrow's broadcast. But someone to the effect that Coach Muss keeps it real. And he meant that by Coach Muss got onto him. There was an instance in the game on Saturday where he had a blown coverage, And I don't know, he couldn't repeat what was said, but you could tell that it wasn't okay. And Mason came into the media room and said, he really felt that because that shows coach really, cares about him. He's not just going to do it behind in the practice gym. He did it right there where the guns were flying and 13,000 people. And from a player's perspective, when a coach can be that consistent, you're gonna reap rewards on down the road, because that's where you start to get that closeness, that chemistry, and that respect for your individual coach.
Yeah, I like Musselman. I can even go back to that time Adria Bailey was taking threes in the game, and Coach Musselman came out and said, Adria, that's not your shot. I really don't want to see you taking that shot. Those are signs that he understands basketball and he holds them accountable, and he really responds to what they do in practice. Don't do anything I don't see you do in practice. Right. And I think that's really where you build a relationship and a chemistry of expectations from a player to coach.
Long time since this team has held 3 basketball opponents under 50 points. I mean, you're talking about 43, 43, and 46. I think Arkansas is in the top 2 or 3 categories this early, and I know it's early in the year, but you have to feel good because I had a conversation with one of the assistant coaches on the basketball staff, and the one thing that they said, and you heard it from Coach Musselman as well, he echoed it. The kids enjoy having fun playing defense. They embrace it. I mean, when you're small in numbers and in size, as this basketball team in 2019-2020 is going to be, and Coach Musselman, year 1 with that staff, you're going to have to rely on defense because defense goes into offense, and that's going to be a real, it sounds cliche, but it's the most important thing for this ball club this year is that they're going to have to get a lot of transition buckets off of their defense. And up to this point, very, very committed to that side of the court. They're sharing the ball quite well. Isaiah Joe didn't have the greatest of shooting nights, neither did Mason Jones, but they hung their hat on what they're going to hang their hat on, and that was the defensive side and the way that they play defense. If you'll notice and you watch this basketball team, they're not just contesting jump shots now. They're leaving the floor to contest, and I see a lot of the NBA teams defensively doing that. And I know, having Coach Clay Mosier be your defensive coach on this particular staff, I really see some adjustments, some really fine adjustments that they've been able to make, and the simple fact that they do a lot of scout throughout the week. They understand the playbook, understand the particular players on their opponent's team. So, I mean, with all that being said, you can just tell that they're really, really prepared on game night. And if they can continue to do that, this is going to be a pretty salty team now. It's going to be defense, 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 and more defense, and getting some rebounds. And I'll continue. So I've always said this team is only going to be as good as they defend and they rebound. But with that being said, we're going to move on to, like I said, we'll get back to the coaching search. What is your level of, if you had to choose out of Leach, Kiffin, Pittman, Norvell, you've heard those have been some of the names that's come up. Matt Campbell is a name that's come up. They just had a big victory this Saturday at home versus the Texas Longhorns. Out of that list of people, and they always talk about you have to understand, because I'm a firm believer too, Demetri. Arkansas is a different place. This is a very unique situation for any coach in any particular sport to come into. I mean, and you do have to get it. So with that being said, out of that list, give me 3 candidates that if you're Hunter Yurachek, you would definitely want to, gauge their interest in this job.
I'm going to go Sam Pittman, Norvell, then I'll go Kiffin. I'll go Kiffin.
We got a question. I want to answer this. Bobby Denny said, why in the world would you think Sam Pittman should be a head coach? He's a great O-line coach, but yet you're willing to take a chance at a coordinator and not an actual proven coach with the way Arkansas's program is right now. We absolutely can't miss in this hire, and I don't think it's a good idea going after Pittman, in my opinion. Okay. I like to chime in on that. Was P.J. Fleck a head coach before he went to North Idaho and then he went on to do what he's doing for Minnesota? Was Kirby Smart a great head coach? Dabo Swinney, last time I checked, was never an offensive coordinator before he became the Clemson head coach. He was a receivers coach. Ed Orgeron was a defensive line coach that got an opportunity at Ole Miss that went West. And I can even think about just a couple years ago, didn't want Ed Orgeron. What I meant by Sam Pittman and why I'm so big, I've covered this team when Sam was here. And what I did notice was not only did the offensive linemen gravitate to him, every single position gravitated to Sam Pittman. He was like a father. And when he left, I had the privilege to know some of those young men on a personal level. Those were tears. A very hurt football team that lost basically what they considered their father figure in. And people want to talk about head coaching experience. No, football is a game of being able to motivate that young man, to be able to get him to do what he could not do, or maybe he didn't think he could do. It's all about emotions. And like I said, when I saw Sam Pittman, and you haven't seen the passion from the offensive or defensive line. Now, true that, yeah, he's a great offensive line coach, but what is Orgeron? What's his main expertise? The defensive line. And Ed has gone out and really solidified the lines of scrimmage, because he understands in the SEC, that's where you have to play. If you're not good in the lines of scrimmage, doesn't matter what type of talent. And I just think Sam Pittman is going to make someone a great coach. You heard the comment last week, how Kirby Smart said he's a gravitational figure on their staff. He's the associate head coach. He's been a head coach. People may not know that, but Sam was a head coach at Hutchinson Junior College. So it doesn't matter at what level. He's led a team before, and being from Grove, Oklahoma, went to Pittsburgh State. He's that grit, that type of hard-nosed, lunch pail type of coach that I think would get it here. You know, like I said, I know what I've seen and how players love him, and it's about players loving their head coach so he can get the best out of them.
You know, my opinion on it, Pat, is that I think Sam Pittman is the perfect guy to glue everything that Arkansas already has on the current roster and turn it into a championship level team. I can't say that Sam Pittman has all the qualities to be a head coach, because he hasn't been a head coach. But what I can say is I think he does have the track record from the schools that he's helped build. When you look at Georgia, when you look at Arkansas, and even that short stint that Brett Bielema had.
How many coaches, Demetrius, have you ever known that started their collegiate coach career as a head coach?
And that's what I was going to say. I think Sam Pittman, from a recruiting standpoint, can show you that, okay, as far as going to get players, I can do. And so many people think as a head coach, you have to know all X's and O's and you have to be the guy. And that's not true in college football. In college football, your head coach just has to be the GM. And we understand that Sam Pittman already knows the X's and O's. So I think if Sam Pittman can be that GM kind of guy and knows to go get a great offensive mind, go get a good defensive coordinator, we know we have a great offensive line coach, and that's the one key element Arkansas is missing right now. When you look at the receivers, the running backs, and even the quarterback with KJ Jefferson, that I think after this LSU, people will have a better perspective of why we are so high on KJ Jefferson. I think Sam Pittman is the perfect guy to bring in, that you can go get a guaranteed offensive line year in, year out, and you can go get it immediately. Right. A lot of these other guys, they're going to have to take time to go get you certain positions and skill position, but for sure Sam Pittman can go get you offensive
Sam,
line.
as I do personally, Sam has got a wide tree of offensive or defensive or coaches that he could hire that are really astute coaches in the college profession, but it just boils down to being able to motivate. Houston Nutt wasn't a great X and O guy. Houston Nutt was a great motivator. We used to love watching his speeches. You know, I know when the Houston Nutt show would come on, the big thing was tune in so you could see his speech. He wasn't a great motivator. Nolan Richardson was a great coach, but he could motivate. He could motivate and make those kids play. Dave Van Horn is a motivator, a great coach as well, but he motivates those guys. Mike Neighbors, a motivator, a great coach, but he motivates those guys. Same thing with Pittman. I mean, with Eric Musselman, they're motivating and showing love and inspiring the guys, and that's what it's about. People always talk about it. It's not about the players. Yes, it is.
And that's why I go say it takes you to have that GM mindset and go get you the coaches that you need. So all you have to do is be that motivator and the person that holds everybody accountable for what you hired them for. If you're my offensive coordinator, okay, I need you to be the best offensive coordinator we need. If you're going to be my quarterback coach, that's all I expect you to do. And as the head coach, you're just really there to be the overseer and make the final decisions. But you're expected to go get hire guys that are masters in their craft at that given position.
And you've heard me say this a million times, Demetrius. For those that listen, I bet he could tell you I've said this probably 1,012. Arkansas is going to have to buy themselves out of this mess. And what I mean by that is you look across, and it's not doing anything illegal, but you look across all the top programs and you look at what those assistant coaches are getting paid. Sam Pittman's making $925,000. The lowest paid coach at Georgia University as an assistant is $450,000. I think that was a couple of the highest paid guys here at Arkansas. You have to pay the money. There's over a $6 million assistant budget that Dabo has at Clemson. Hence, they're winning. There's over a $6 million. There's a big budget at LSU. Hence, they're winning. Alabama's, Oklahoma's, the Ohio State. They're paying top dollar, top market dollar. You want to be the best program, go get the best coaches, but you have to allow your head coach the financial means to go get the top coach. We lost Sam Pittman for $250,000 more dollars when he went to Georgia. He was making over $400,000 here, but for $650,000, you lost the best offensive line coach. And it's because you don't allow the money to be paid in the SEC. This is big boy football. Big boy football. And I'll say it again. You have to buy your way out of Arkansas. Allow your next head coach the proper budget to seek and attract the top coaches in all of college football. Not what you think you can afford, but what that coach thinks is going to cost.
Look what Ed Orgeron did down there.
You
LSU.
know,
He opened
it's about allowing your coach the proper means, and you have the means, Arkansas. I know you know some people don't think Arkansas does, but and it also ticks me off. Arkansas, with people saying Arkansas is not this type of job, they shouldn't have to take a back seat to anybody with some of the nicest facilities in the country. You can't tell me if you can win a basketball national championship. Now I know it's a different sport, but you can never tell me it can't be done here. We almost saw the baseball team 2 years ago win the national championship. Fayetteville ain't got no bigger. It's about believing as a coach what you can and cannot accomplish. And me personally, I don't want to cover a coach that's going to come here and have a second-tier mind and be like, as this Arkansas fan base seems to think, 8-9 wins is okay. Be better than that, Arkansas. Be better than that, Arkansas fans. Expect more. Why can't Arkansas expect to shoot for the stars? I just, I hear this out and about town. Oh, just get a coach, 9-10 wins. That's long gone. I mean, that's over with. Get you a coach, allow him to pay the proper dollar that you can get some of these elite. And I mean elite. We all know that this offensive line and this program, when Sam left, and I'm not saying he was the end-all be-all, but he had a large part, has not been the same. Arkansas has not been able to find any type of consistency on the offensive line. Now, if you hire Sam Pittman as your head coach, he's going to get some offensive linemen because your head coach is really one of your strongest recruiters in the A. We never have had an issue with Sam Pittman ever being questioned about being the type of recruiter. I mean, the guy has 5 commits, 2 5-stars, 3 4-stars heading to Georgia based on him. And I tell people, hey, give a guy a chance. It's about stepping out of the box. And I think that's what this is going to take, in this next hire from Hunter Yurachek, is step out of the box and get the best man that could be a leader of men. And I think that's Sam Pittman. I think Sam would be the fit. And it's a job that I really think, he would really cherish and work his tail off.
I can't speak on this, but we had a question by Christopher Shaw. What do you think? What do you guys think of if we pick Tim Kelly from the Texans OC?
We see Chris Shaw from Fort Benning, Georgia. Our guys on that again were great. I think if you can get an offensive coordinator, and particularly from the pros, I mean, Joe Brady, the offensive OC at LSU, came from the New Orleans Saints. He's a young, up-and-comer, innovative mind that Coach Orgeron has allowed the autonomy to really have his imprint on that offensive team, and you can see the results. And I think he would be a great one. It'd be something that some new innovative things that maybe Arkansas hadn't seen or teams have seen from Arkansas. That would be something I think would be real interesting. I think you got to be out of the box with this one. I mean, I know it's the most important hire in all of the football program's history. I get that. Having been someone that's watched this program for the better part of 48 years, I understand where you're at with that. But, don't second guess a Sam Pittman. Don't second guess a Lane Kiffin. Because all those guys, I mean, you think about P.J. Fleck, who was never any type of coordinator. He was a receivers coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, got his first job at I believe it was Northern Illinois or North Dakota State or somewhere. P.J. got that job, and then he was able to springboard into Minnesota and built his program. The same way with Dabo Swinney, due to someone being fired. He was able to get that job as a wide receiver coach, was the interim head coach, And the rest is history. I can recall after the 2010 season, 6 and 7 Clemson, they weren't too happy with Dabo, but they kept on, and we can see.
Hey, Mr. Roy said if Sam Pittman came, the current lineman wouldn't be here long.
I think, with Sam Pittman, he would be. Sam's going to turn some kids. Yeah, look at that. Biggest example, when Sam came from Tennessee to Arkansas, he brought a committed Dan Skipper who was committed to Tennessee that followed him here to Arkansas. A committed, a guy in Denver Kirkland, who was looking at the University of Tennessee, followed Sam Pittman here. You talk about Frank Ragnow, whom out-recruited the likes of the Minnesotas, Notre Dames, and the big-time schools, Michigans, to get Frank Ragnow. Trey Tola, Sebastian Trey Tola is another guy that comes to mind.
See the beauty that I see Sam Pittman coming here is that he's proven that he can develop players.
Right.
So I think Sam Pittman's the type of guy that no matter what type of linemen are on his current roster, he's guaranteed to make them better.
Right.
He has that type of track record. So I'm not gonna just X all the linemen out, because I think Ricky Stromberg. I think if he had a Sam Pittman,
right,
I think he can go to
Ricky's gonna be special.
I think he could go to an elite level.
Special.
So there's a couple of guys that I think have potential to be elite if they had the type of coaching of a caliber of Sam Pittman. I think they could make that jump.
And I think with so many people, I think just the simple fact that he is an offensive line coach. You get a lot of people saying that he wouldn't be good as a head coach. No one knew that Kirby Smart was going to be a great head coach when he was a defense coordinator at Alabama. Nobody knew that Dabo Swinney was going to be a great head coach. But they're motivators of men, and they're great recruiters, and kids want to play for them. At the end of the day, nobody's going to walk in and start their college coaching career as a head coach. Everybody's got to start at a position as a position coach and work your way up. This man is the highest paid offensive line coach in college football, and he's the head assistant, associate assistant, the head man. If Kirby goes down, then Sam's taking over at the nation's elite, the number 4 program in all the college football playoffs. Why would you not want it? You saw what Georgia, they went and got Kirby off a championship staff. Why would you not do that? Why would you not go and pick assistants off of the best programs? Because obviously they're going to have connections and be able to pull, just like Kirby did. He pulled some of those assistants from Alabama.
And that's what I say. I say all the coaches are a gamble. Because you don't know what any of them can bring to the table. But I think Sam Pittman is your safest bet. Even when you look at Lane Kiffin,
right.
Kiffin is not a winner to me. He's been to some big name programs, USC, Tennessee, but he hasn't won consistently at any of those universities. FIU is the first school he's really consistently won at.
I want somebody, Demetrius, and I want someone that give us a reason why Sam Pittman wouldn't be a good head coach. Give us one good reason.
I think the only thing you can really look at is age, and sorry to jump topic, but I keep seeing a lot of people mention Charlie Strong, and Charlie Strong. I was preaching about Charlie Strong before they hired Brett Bielema.
Right.
I thought they were gonna hire Charlie Strong after the stint he had there at Louisville.
Right.
I just felt like Charlie, he has Arkansas ties. I forgot where he's from.
Charlie's from Batesville.
Batesville. That's why somebody did tell me that Rivercrest, because they told me his dad coached at Rivercrest.
Right. I think he'd be a great head. I think he deserves to get an interview. If not, to be the head coach, I think Charlie Strong would be a great, but a great candidate.
I'm gonna just touch on the sore spot. I think bringing Charlie Strong here really changes the narrative of the University of Arkansas, whether people want to talk about it or not. This will be the first African American head coach hired at the University of Arkansas, and I think that opens so many doors.
And he means football, guys. So we understand that Nolan and Mike, but we're specifically talking about African American for football.
Football, yeah. And I think it would open a tremendous amount of doors as far as, even if it didn't work out the way Razorback fans would like it to. I think it will open up so many doors, just changing the narrative of what goes on here.
Demetrius, I think Hunter is one of those guys that, and watching Hunter Yurachek in his year and a half as the AD, there's gonna be some African Americans, I believe, get an interview. I think a legitimate interview. I think Hunter's gonna really step out of the box, as he did. Like Eric Musselman was straight out of the box. we were all, everybody, Sampson, and then it became whatever, and Sam went and got Eric Musselman as well. Jordan Weber, another young lady that came in as the gymnastics coach, straight out of the box. You don't, the fan base and us here in the media, we don't understand the wealth of information at the disposal as far as, interested candidates are for a 100-year check. I think Arkansas is a very attractive job, and I'll continue to say it. It's going to be contingent on the freshman group. If the majority, 80 to 90% of this freshman class will remain here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, I think this job becomes really attractive. I'll say it again, in their junior year, I anticipate this program to really be on the uptick. I think they'll start next year because I feel like there's some championship caliber talent in that freshman group. And I think that if they can just get classes behind them, you have to really get a coach in place because you don't want to lose all your 20 class. You're down to, I think, 6 or 7 young men. But most of these kids, and I understand, and fans need to stop. You're tweeting at these kids bad words. The kid has a right to sit and wait and see if this coach wants to even commit and honor his scholarship. That's what a lot of people don't even realize. This coach doesn't have to honor it, and so you have to keep all your options open. You don't want to sit there in late February and the coach, we're not going to honor it. You're stuck. So I think these kids and their parents are doing their due diligence to thoroughly look over all their options. I mean, these families and these kids, they go multi-years of giving up so much. They have reserved the right to be selfish and make this a family decision.
Hey, somebody mentioned Randy Shannon. You think Randy would come here? I don't think Randy would want to come here.
I think Randy's time here was good, but Randy's more of he likes the state of Florida.
Exactly.
I think Randy's always going to stay in that state. That's the one thing I think that was the big drawback while he was here is, this cold weather, Coach Shannon wasn't used to. I don't think he'd ever coached outside of the state of Florida. Either as a player or as a coach. So, this was something that was real new. Now, I do know he liked Einstein bagels. I do know that.
Hey, I think Fayetteville's just too far away from his home. Like,
right.
even when it comes to going back and visiting, it's a drive. It's a tough drive. I'm not saying Randy Shannon would have probably had to drive, but just traveling back and forth, I think that was just too much for him.
My general thing is, like I said, I think the coach has to be about the kids, and he has to have a gravitational personality. And I know if they were to get Coach Pittman in front of Mr. Yurchek, it's going to be hard to not want Sam to be your leader. But there's a lot of different kids. I think Matt Campbell would be a guy that could really, really win the press, win the interview in the interview room. I also think Lane Kiffin. I know a lot of people may not like Lane, but I think Lane Kiffin at Arkansas, if you looked at the staff that he was able to put together at his stints at USC and at Tennessee, pretty good staffs, and they were in there. They were getting top 10 classes at both those places. It was just, I think he was more like, Ed Orgeron. I think he had to mature.
You know what Lane to me was a superstar. He wasn't a football coach to me. To me, he was a guy that liked the spotlight, that liked to be known as that coach that's really cool with the players. Because what really sticks out of my mind in Lane Kiffin is Lil Wayne, when Lil Wayne mentioned Lane Kiffin. And that's what really made kids really crazy about Lane Kiffin. He got a cosign from Lil Wayne. But other than that, let me take that back. His father, because his father does have the pedigree. But to me, that's what really sparked Lane Kiffin and got him the momentum where a lot of kids were really interested in him, because a lot of these rappers start mentioning Lane Kiffin in their rap music.
And like I said, it's a better job than is anticipated. But I continue to say, out of my belief, I hadn't been told this, but I think it's all contingent. A lot of these coaches here over the next week or so will look at the freshman class. I don't think anything will happen until after the SEC championship around the December 3rd after. So I think that's what this is all about. But, I'm always going to say I think Sam Pittman is the perfect fit to be here at the University of Arkansas. Without a doubt, I think this guy could really come in here and put together a staff that we could be proud of. And then, like I said, one thing I know, with the weapons that you have, say the freshman, you got KJ Traylon, Amonte Hudson, TQ, Shamar, and Trey Knox, and you sprinkle in a couple good offensive linemen that Sam has the wherewithal to be able to pull in, and you tell me this is not going to be a good group, a good football team, I think it will be an excellent football team because of the line of scrimmage. That's their biggest problem. is the line of scrimmage each and every Saturday. Talent-wise, Arkansas is not there yet, and it was contingent when Sam left.
And I just feel like Sam Pittman just has too many ties not to put together a good staff and guys that understand the fundamentals of football, because everybody keeps preaching about, player development. We got to get coaches that really know how to develop players, and that's the key thing that Arkansas really needs. And you have a guy in Sam Pittman that knows guys that understand football.
He had pros here. Who all made the pro? Dan Skipper, Trey Tola, Denver Kirkland. All those guys were Frank Ragnow. All those guys went on to play at the highest level. And you look at, like I said, just the staff. You're only as good. I think the head coach only as good as your assistant. So let me say it again. Arkansas. I know if you're hurt and you're listening, you're going to have to buy your way out of this. Hire the best coaches. Allow the head coach to have a fair enough, competitive enough budget, not just SEC, but on a national level, and let the coach pay top dollar. You hear me? I mean, Demetrius, do they hear me? They're going to have to buy their way out, get on the financial level as all the great head coaches and their staffs, and then see. And if you can't do that, then I don't know what else you can do.
And another thing, I think you have to go get someone that's experienced in the SEC.
Yeah.
I think that's where Arkansas has failed a lot. Even when you look back at Brett Bielema, there was no SEC experience.
Man, if you got Mike Leach wouldn't understand Arkansas.
No.
Mike Leach would not. I'm done with the press conferences, winning the press conference, and us going in there and having a great quote, man. I want wins. I want to cover wins.
And to me, I don't know Mike Norvell's history like that, but I don't think he has an SEC background, if I'm not mistaken.
No,
and
Mike just played at UCA,
and I'm not saying he wouldn't make a great coach,
right.
But in my opinion, with the situation that Arkansas is in, we're going on the third head coach in less than 8 years.
Yeah,
so that's a problem.
Yes,
that's a big problem, and to me, you have to go get somebody that's most experienced and that has interest in coming to your university. To me, Sam Pittman, when you look at everything the fan base has been asking for in a coach, he checks them off. Somebody that has Arkansas ties, check, been here before. Somebody that really wants to be a Razorback, check. Sam Pittman said this was his dream job. Somebody that has experience in the SEC, check. Sam Pittman coaches at multiple SEC schools, check. Great recruiter. Sam Pittman has a pedigree of always having top 5 offensive line units, check. So to me, he's the safest bet. If you're a gambling man, he's the safest bet, and I think that's what Arkansas needs.
And I know Chris. I mean, Chris Shaw's on the roll, and he had a great point. The biggest thing is you have to cultivate and bring your locker room together. I think as a head coach, and this is something that my granddad told me a long time ago. You have the head coach with the culture, and then you have your messengers, which is your locker room. And you have to have the messengers sell and put the culture forth. Your messengers have to be the biggest teachers of your culture, which means that locker room. And I think Sam Pittman could get that, or Lane Kiffin could get that. I think Matt Campbell could get that. It's about getting these kids to become one family, one locker room, one heartbeat, and that's what football is. It's about being a motivator. I mean, you can talk about, and I keep saying, you can talk about it's not about the players. Chad Morris is fired today because he lost his locker room and the belief that the players had in him. And you want to tell me it's not about the players? Jimmy Dykes years ago, before Mike Neighbors got the job, lost his locker room in that girls program. I was there, covered it. I saw the lack of love from player to coach, coach to player. I saw that. As a result, he lost his job. When the players give up, it's not too much longer that we're going to have a press conference, AD letting the coach go. So don't tell me it's not about the players, because I wholeheartedly think that's solely, if you're going to be a head coach and a great leader, you better put first and foremost, it's about those kids on your roster, Demetri.
Absolutely. I think, I seen a comment earlier, and a guy asked, do you think Hunter Yurachek asked the current roster?
You hear Terry, he going to miss talking football. Hey, Mr. Roy, stay with us.
Mr. Roy ain't going nowhere.
Don't fall off.
Don't fall off. He's a true team member of On the Hill, he ain't going nowhere. He's definitely going to be tuning in.
Rick Mosley had a good one too. He says, let the coaches run the team without any outside interference. Play the players best for the job. I agree. And I think that was another reason Chad was not doing. He wasn't playing the best players. I think some of that, there might have been a little politicking going on. I'm not saying
that's why Brett lost his job.
but I mean, there's been some kind of head scratching moments throughout this year. But guys, that's going to wrap up our Monday recap. We want you to come back tomorrow. Thank you for all good questions, Chris Shaw. But thank you for all your comments. We continue to invite you. We love having your comments as you can be a part of the show. But I want to give a thank you to my producer, Demetrius Johnson. I want to give a thank you to all our listeners. Also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, residential, commercial. If you need it to look good, contact Corey Beck. And KDK's Chicken. It's located at 989 Razorback Road. Go down and see Keith and Kathy, and like they say on their wall, it's not your mama's, the best chicken and waffles in the South. But that's going to do it. Until tomorrow, we'll be back with much, much more. Try to figure out if we know any latest on the Hog Talk, coach-wise. Arkansas will be hosting the big ball game tomorrow night. The women play Belmont on Wednesdays. There's a lot going on, and we'll be here to cover each and every second. But for now, from myself to our viewers, also my producer Demetrius, to you guys, it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and let's get it. All right, I got to get ready to start press conference now. If I'm late, oh well.